and welcome back to the Cruise Line, brought to you by Tour Productions. I'm Erica CRUZ.
And I'm Jason Nichols.
Former President Donald Trump was recently banned from Twitter and Facebook after he incited a violent and seditious mob to attack the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., resulting in 5 deaths and dozens of injuries. Since then, Parler, a reactionary right-wing social media platform presented as an alternative to Twitter, has been dropped by Google, Amazon, and Apple.
All of this has Trump supporters complaining of censorship from big tech and looking for legal recourse. Many on both the left and the right have argued that big tech has too much power and influence, either to spread disinformation or to muzzle communication.
Today, we intend to discuss big tech and censorship here on the Cruise Line. Facebook and Twitter are platforms, which is what makes them powerful and profitable. Some liken them to large libraries. No one would sue a library based on the material held within the library. Online platforms are protected by Section 230 of the Commission's Decency Act.
Section 230 gives online platforms immunity from responsibility for unlawful content. However, they are expected to police speech that is considered offensive. Offensive speech would include excessive violence or obscenity. Courts have determined that this does not include political speech.
And that's exactly where the issue arises. What happens when political speech and violence converge, like with former President Trump? Oddly, Republicans who are notoriously anti-regulation want to regulate big tech. They claim that Facebook and Twitter are biased against them. There doesn't seem to be any conclusive evidence of this.
On both sides of the aisle, there seems to be anxiety regarding tech giants, that they've simply gotten too big. In October of 2020, 11 state attorneys general filed an antitrust lawsuit against Google, which claims 80% of the search engine market share, valued at $1 trillion. The interesting thing is we've seen this before in American industries like oil, steel, and railroads. When companies get too large, they receive a public backlash, which leads to government intercession, regulation, and ultimately breakups.
Amazon recently removed Parler from its platform. Parler encourages people to speak freely without fear of being policed. However, Amazon saw Parler posts that threatened or incited violence. One user stated, quote, "Would be a pity if someone with explosives training were to pay a visit to some Amazon data center," end quote.
Amazon and Google have always had terms of service, but the issue is that they haven't always enforced them, which appears to some as if they're targeting some people rather than others based on their affiliation or views. They have taken measures short of bans like stripping verification from people known to practice what they deem hate speech. Hate speech can fall under free speech, but there are limits to free speech in the United States. Libel, slander, and defamation are not considered free speech. One also cannot directly incite violence, as decided in Schneck versus United States 1919. This fact is what separates Trump from many other examples cited by his defenders in order to show a supposed bias.
It must be noted also that big tech companies are private entities and are not state actors, and thus are not censoring people by definition. However, it can be argued that the government subsidizes big tech. That's all for us here on the Cruise Line. Like and comment below if this video was helpful. Share widely and be on the lookout for more content from us and other soon-to-launch shows from Tour Productions. Stay safe and wear your mask.